Hey internet friends, Grace here. 2025's hitting us hard in the US economy. Well, everything seems just peachy on the news, doesn't it? But the reality is so much different in the grocery store aisles, on the real estate market, and inflation is at an all-time high. Meanwhile, consumer confidence is at an all-time low. Real pain is being felt, but people, by and large, are getting a little more, well, let's say, the noticing is unstoppable. The people up top, the usurers, the bankers, the CEOs, the policymakers, they all have some secrets they'd rather keep buried. Let's identify the traps they've set for us in 2025, shall we? Number 5, you can't buy a house because they already did. Institutional investors, including private equity and Wall Street firms like BlackRock, are buying single-family homes at a steady pace. This really kicked into gear during COVID. SFR Analytics reported that the top 10 institutional buyers held over 430,000 single-family rentals. And these same institutions had purchased 26% of affordable homes across the United States, pricing out first-time home buyers. The Urban Institute reports that they have taken up 25% of single-family rentals in popular areas like Atlanta, and rent has skyrocketed there as a result. They're simply not playing the same game as us. These cash-rich businesses outbid Americans by $3 trillion due to low loan rates from the Fed's 2020-2021 quantitative easing. So they got lower rates for borrowing money while average buyers face rising rates and rising prices. Your American dream became their rental empire. Your American dream is their profit margin, and it's giving you will own nothing and be happy per the World Economic Forum in their predictions for 2030. And personally, I reject that notion, and I think you should too. There will be only momentary and fleeting reprieve until the Federal Reserve is ended and we nationalize our monetary system. But our current reality is that we are controlled by a non-government foreign entity with no allegiance to our country. So why would they have any incentive for Americans to prosper? Number 4, inflation isn't the only reason that grocery prices are insane. SEC filings show Kroger and Walmart making record profits in 2025. Kroger up 8% in 2024. The secret? Well, the secret is price gouging. The 2023 FTC report revealed supply chain excuses mask coordinated hikes. And even on this channel, we followed the whole orchestrated destruction of the U.S. food supply. And these food manufacturing companies, these warehouses catching fire during the COVID years. And of course, all of that is contributing to the cost. And on the topic of deliberate destruction of the food supply, in a report from January 2025, it was documented that the U.S. Department of Agriculture has been providing compensation to farmers for losses due to bird flu through its indemnity program. As of early 2025, the total amount paid out for poultry losses related to bird flu exceeds $1.46 billion. Reuters broke it down to $1.1 billion for the direct loss of birds and eggs destroyed during outbreaks since 2022, and an additional $326 million for prevention and control measures, such as disposal and biosecurity enhancements, aka smack machines. So could we ask the question then, finally, are farmers being paid to create a false scarcity? Are they being rewarded and incentivized even? By the way, are they testing pelicans and cardinals for the bird flu? How come only laying hens are affected? Don't you feel like something isn't adding up here? Number 3, the dollar is in free fall and the people at the top are popping bottles, drinking champagne. In March, Bloomberg showed that BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and even Iran and other countries, are cutting dollar trades by 30% in 2025, up from 20% in 2023. Reuters reports India trading oil in rupees for $2 billion in 2024. And what's going on behind the scenes? Instead of scrambling, the Fed is scheming. It is the snake that eats its own tail after all. They organize the boom and bust of every economy. Powell's 2024 comments suggest a smooth transition to digital currencies while BRICS hoards gold. Hey, by the way, whatever happened to that Fort Knox gold audit? I guess you can find it where Anthony Weiner's laptop is and where the Epstein files are too. Anyway, China has reported hoarding 2,300 tons of gold, Russia 2,300 tons. So BRICS has 20% of the world's stash. Allegedly, okay, and that puts them in a good position when this house of cards collapses. And everyone else, well, if you're not smart about it and you don't plan for the future, you're going to be stuck holding on to monopoly money. Also, I researched and wrote this entire video before the tariff debacle this week. The whole go get your money out of the bank before it's too late. The sky's falling while everyone else panics over their 401k losses. I can definitely see sort of a Great Depression style scenario where they do the bank runs, like a 100-year anniversary sort of thing. Very esoterically gematria coded problem reaction solution Hegelian dialectic. The whole, whoops, we don't have your Federal Reserve notes, but don't worry, it's all stored digitally. And then it's a hard push towards ushering in the Federal Reserve's digital dollar, which is all BS anyway, right? The Federal Reserve at its core anyway, it's always been a digital dollar or a made-up dollar because they create money out of nothing. Just typing on their little keyboards, it's all a scam. It's a grift. It's a tangible unit of energy or time. That's all a Federal Reserve note is. The dollar is this thing which we all have confidence to exchange for goods and services. So we work until retirement or beyond, holding up the grift. But I digress because whenever I start talking that talk, the fragile illusion of our reality begins to break down rather suddenly. Number 2, student loan debt is a steel trap bolted shut by design. The USA is still drowning in $1.74 trillion of student loan debt in 2025, according to the Federal Reserve. The feds, the usurers, and the banks are feasting. Interest rates on Grad Plus loans rose to 7% in 2024, according to the Department of Education, generating $78 billion for lenders, according to Forbes. Sallie Mae's stocks are up 45% since 2022. Meanwhile, the average borrower, the average person, the wagee, eventually pays off their student loans by age 45, with the average amount borrowed being $38,000. Then interest is accrued every month when it's not paid in full, of course. But when you're 18 and dumb, you don't really get the big picture here, okay? A loan that you take out when you're stupid and 18 years old paid off by age 45. So let's run these numbers. If you take out a $38,000 student loan when you're 18 at a 7% interest rate and aren't able to pay it off until you're 45, which is the average, how much in total are you paying if it takes an average of 18 and a half years to pay this thing off? So that's $38,000 for the initial principal loan amount and $95,000 in interest, bringing you to a grand total of $133,000 that you've paid to these people by the time you're 45. The truth is, most people, and I'm not saying all, most people don't need a pretty piece of paper from an indoctrination center. What they need is real-world experience, apprenticeship, family, love, hopes, and dreams. Unless you're a doctor or a lawyer, then you don't need any of that. You need that piece of paper. Otherwise, it's not really worth the high price tag. Instead of free, they want you bankrupt, submissive, and bleeding money eternally. Babylonian debt slavery, indentured servitude for most. Just with a cap, gown, and pretty piece of paper framed with your name on it. And number 1, the big one, ready to blow by late 2025. Economists like Nouriel Roubini, the Dr. Doom who nailed the 2008 recession, are screaming that 2025 will dwarf that meltdown, leading to a stagflationary debt crisis that shreds absolutely everything in its path. As of yesterday, Friday, April 4th, JP Morgan actually increased their recession predictions to 60% after this big reaction to the reciprocal tariffs. I kind of find it funny that everyone is freaking out about the reciprocation, like it's okay for other countries to charge exorbitant tariffs on the US, but we're not allowed to do it back to them. Everyone's screaming that those numbers the other countries are charging aren't correct. But let's say they're not correct, but they're still charging something, aren't they? Seems unfair, I don't know, but okay, go off. All I know is I'm ready for those penguins on the uninhabited island, the McDonald Islands, to get their checkbook out. I'm actually optimistic American businesses will be prioritized, but you have to have some context on me to understand me. I graduated from high school in 2008. Peak recession, and was old enough to witness the Walmartization of America when all these small towns were destroyed, losing family businesses because they couldn't compete with sweatshops and child labor. Before the big tariff bombshell, there was already another housing bubble on the horizon. the average home buyer spending $406,000 on a single-family home in March of 2025. Meanwhile, the average salary really hasn't gone up. It's $59,000. And no, this isn't just an accident or an unfortunate series of coincidences. It's a heist. The Fed pushed interest rates sky high, hitting 6.5 on a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage as of April 2025. Imagine a $400,000 mortgage, your dream home, which is a modest home for you and your new family. Back in 2020, at 3%, you're paying $1,680 a month. Today, as of April 2025, with rates at 6.5, that's $2,500 a month. That's $800 extra every month. $10,000 extra dollars a year ripped right out of your bank account. And they knew it would strangle families, folks who are just juggling rent and groceries and trying to live, because now, as they're jacking up rates and making borrowing a nightmare, the cracks are really beginning to show. In 2024, foreclosures rose 18% while banks waited to strike. Today, just reported last week, more Americans are in default on their mortgages than in the aftermath of the 2008 financial crisis. What is that going to look like as 2025 progresses? Now, there is talk with all this tariff stuff, all the turmoil in the economy, that it is going to force the Fed to lower rates. We'll wait and see. But while you're struggling to make ends meet, they've been storing $2 trillion as a safety net for their Wall Street buddies since 2023. $2 trillion stacked and ready to go to prop up the big shots when all this mess implodes, according to Bloomberg. And at this point, I don't know whether they're publicly bragging about having all this money or they're just reporting it. I'm not really sure what they're doing over there. But the U.S. Government Accountability Office revealed that they gave $16 trillion to the same cast of characters in 2008. When you get paid and bailed out for bad behavior, do you really learn your lesson? Are you really going to change your actions? This year, they'll continue bailing out their friends with your tax dollars while you stare at a for sale sign. This isn't a crash. It's a calculated gut punch, and they're betting you won't fight back during their engineered apocalypse. 5 traps they've set, all real, all hitting you where it hurts. Houses snatched, groceries gouged, dollars dumped, debt tightened, and a crash they'll skate through. The U.S. economy is their game, and we're the pawns. I can't really stop the boulder that's in free fall here, but I can tell you to get out of its way and prepare. And you know what? Maybe what I said here wasn't the most uplifting news, but what is uplifting is that more people are paying attention. More people are noticing the traps that are being set. More people are noticing the corruption taking place in their country. We're dodging, and we're letting them know what we think of their little game. What do you think, internet friends? You know, I always look forward to reading your comments. Thank you so much for watching, subscribing, for supporting my channel on Patreon, and buying my book, The Deep State Encyclopedia. Bye.